So please make sure you have your math book out and you're on page 159. You can pause the video if you need to get your math book ready to go. Page 159. So remember with our reteaching or review pages, the left side just tells us an example and then the right side is where we will solve the problem. So set A, remember we can break an array into two smaller arrays. So they had a large array like this. They had 8 in each row and they had 4 rows. Instead of solving 8 times 4, they broke this up into two different arrays. So they did 8 times 3 at the top, or 3 times 8, and 1 times 8 at the bottom, or 8 times 1, to make 8 times 4 solving easier. So we can always break apart that larger array into smaller arrays. So let's look to the right. Remember that the distributive property says that a multiplication fact can be broken apart into the sum of two other multiplication facts. So let's think about number 1. We're missing a number here, so that's what we're trying to solve. No, it's going to be times 4. So we can think about 2 times 4 plus 2 times 4. So I just drew the arrays at the right to make it a little bit easier to see. So if I have 2 times 4, I can look at my green array and think 2 rows of 4. And then I have 2 more rows of 4, so I did another array. So we want to think about if we have this large array, if we put these together, what will that multiplication problem look like? I want you to pause the video and try to answer number 1, and then when you're ready to check, play the video again. So for number 1, we'd have 4 times 4 equals 2 times 4 plus 2 times 4. Let's look at the bottom instead. They give us the large array, 6 rows with 5 in each row. They split it up into 4 rows of 5 and another number of rows of 5. So we want to think about, we know there's 5 in each row, but then we want to think about how many more rows do I need? If I already have 4 and I want to get to 6, pause the video and try, and then play again when you're ready to check your answer. So we would have 2 here. And I can check my answer. I know 6 times 5 is 30. 4 times 5 is 20. 2 times 5 is 10. So I know that 2 plus 10 does equal 30. So I know that that would be correct. Let's look at set B. We want to find 3 times 4, and you can use 2's facts to help you multiply. So 3 times 4, we had 3 rows with 4 in each row. They split up into 2 times 4 equals 8, 1 times 4 equals 4, and then they added those up to get 12. The way you would write this, 3 times 4, your large array. So we're looking at set B still. So the way we would write this, we'd have 3 times 4 to get our large array, and then they broke that up into an array. 3 times 2 and 3 times 2. So this is just another way you can break it up into 2's facts. So remember that to find a 3's facts, add a 2's facts and a 1's facts. To find a 4's fact, double the product as a 2's facts. So I want you to try to solve these ones any way you would like. Pause the video, and then when you're ready to check, the answers will be on the video. So set 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 10 is 40. 3 times 8 is 24. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 9 is 36, 3 times 10 is 30, 8 times 4 is 32, and 10 times 4 is 40. So if you mixed up any of those, please make sure you erase it and write in the correct numbers. If you need to pause the video now and to write them down, you may. Let's look at set C. You can use known facts to help multiply. So we know to do 6 times 9, we could think about 5 times 9 plus 1 times 9, or 45 plus 9 to get 54. When we're looking at 7 times 4, we can think of 5 times 4 plus 2 times 4. 20 plus 8 and 28. So these just break down our larger facts if we need help with that. So I want you to try these next problems and then press play when you have it solved to check your answers. So 6 times 6 is 36. And we can think about 6 times 5 is 30. So I know it's just one more group of 6 to get 36. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 7 is 49. 6 times 8 is 48. Because I know 8 times 5 is 40, so I just have to add one more group of 8 to get 48. 6 times 5 is 30, 6 times 3 is 18, and 7 times 10 is 70. Let's turn the page. At the top, find 8 times 9, so they're using 2's facts to find 8 times 9. So they did 2 times 9 plus 2 times 9 plus 2 times 9 plus 2 times 9, because 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So they're just breaking it down into easier problems to get 72. And we can also use skip counting to find 72. So on this side, we want to just find our facts. You can use patterns, known facts, or skip counting to find the products. Pause the video, and then when you're ready to check your answers, you can play the video again. So we know 8 times 6 is 48, 8 times 8 is 64, 8 times 7 is 56, 8 times 10 is 80, 1 times 8 is 8, 0 times 8 is 0. Remember, anything times 0 is always 0. 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 3 is 24, and 8 times 2 is 16. Pause the video if you need to make any corrections. You can use the associative property to group factors, and the product does not change. So we can think about 4 times 2 times 2. We can multiply them in any order, and it will be the same. So if we're thinking about 4 times 2 times 2, these parentheses tell us to do that first. So if we have parentheses around 2 times 2, they just brought this answer down here. So they did 4 times 4 to get 16. They tried it another way. They did the 4 times 2 first and had 8, and then just brought down the other 2 to multiply, and they got 16 both ways. So we can do these next 3 together because these ones are a little bit tricky. So 4 times 5 times 2. So we can think about different facts to make this easier to multiply. So we can say 4 times 2, so that would give us 8. And we have the 5 left over, so we just bring the 5 here. So we know 4 times 5 times 2 would be the same as 8 times 5, which would give us 40. And you could multiply the 4 times 5 first, or the 5 times 2 first, however you would like to do it. Now let's look at this. 3 times 7 times 3. I'm going to choose to multiply the 3 times 3 first. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then 9, and we just bring over that 7. 9 times 7 is 63. And we can use your fingers trick for the 9's facts as well. 5 times 5 times 2. This time I'm going to do my parentheses here. This is what I'm going to do first. So I know I just have my 5 because I'm not multiplying anything yet. I'm just bringing this right over. And then 5 times 2, I write the product here, is 10. So 5 times 10 would be 50 because we just add that 0 when we multiply by 10. Let's look at set F. This is our last one for today. Think about these questions to help you use repeated reasoning. So these are just helping us think through our problems. Are any calculations repeated? Can I generalize from examples? What shortcuts do I notice? So this is just about using our easier facts to solve the more difficult problems. So let's look at this side. Remember that patterns can help you make a generalization. What is repeated in these equations? Use what you see to make a generalization. So I see for 6 times 6, I notice 6 times 3 and 6 times 3 is repeated. 18 and 18 is repeated to get to 36. So I notice I am repeating the 2 smaller facts. So for 7 times 6, I could repeat 7 times 3, 7 times 3. 8 times 6, I could repeat 8 times 3, plus 8 times 3 to get 24 plus 24 to get to 4. So for this one, we can just talk about this one. We know that a 6 facts, you just double the 3's facts. So for all of these multiply by 6, they just multiplied it by 3 twice. Solve this equation to test whether your generalization is true. So we would do 10 times 6. So let's just write it again down here. 10 times 6 equals, so we're going to test that it's a repeated 3's facts. So I know I'm going to multiply by 3 for each of these. Let's think about, is it just a repeated our 3's facts? So I know 10 times 6 equals 10 times 3 plus 10 times 3. So to check, we can solve. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 3 is 30 again. So when I add these together, 30 plus 30 is 60. And I do know that 10 times 6 is 60. So that is true. When we're multiplying by 6, it's just like multiplying by 3 twice. Feel free to practice your math facts for the test tomorrow, and you can go on extra math if you'd like. It's not required, but if you want to keep practicing those multiplication facts for the test tomorrow, you can do 15 minutes of extra math. Have a great rest of your day, Talia.